Mr. Speaker, government secrecy is anathema to all people, and darkness by rulers can be trumped by the sunshine of public and an independent judicial system. But, Mr. Speaker, secrecy by a judicial system is a threat to liberty of all free peoples. So, in our country, we have the Constitution, and specifically the amendments to the Constitution protect us as a free people against government intrusion, government violation of our privacy. Because government really has no power, it has what we give it when we give up our liberty. And the amendments promote openness of government. You know, there's the Sixth Amendment that talks about a public speedy trial where witnesses come forward and people are put on notice of the crime and they're given a jury trial. But the most important part of that amendment is that the trial is public. Seventh Amendment deals with jury trials in civil cases. Of course, the Fifth Amendment talks about the fact that in a trial, a person accused doesn't have to testify or produce any evidence against themselves. And then the Fourth Amendment talks about how government is limited on how it can intrude into our homes and our papers. It limits government surveillance. And it's a philosophy that government must have reasons. It must be a reasonable search based on probable cause. And that there must be a warrant drafted under oath describing the place to be searched, the persons and objects to be seized. Now, this just didn't come out of our ancestors' minds because they thought it was a good idea. There are historical reasons for that. Maybe in our public school system we ought to teach more about history and why we do things the way we do. But it goes all the way back to the 1500s in England, when England invented this concept of the Star Chamber. The idea was, well, we're going to be able to prosecute and go after nobles, certain people who are being able to get away with violations of the law. But the courts were made specifically to be secret courts, where there was no witnesses, there was no indictment, and a person was forced to testify against themselves. So obviously it was abused. It was abused by the kings of England, primarily Henry VIII, when he went after and fought his opponents by prosecuting them in those secret courts. The United States doesn't have the Star Chamber, but we have the NSA, the National Spy Agency as I call it, and the FISA courts, the 21st century descendants of the Star Chamber. The NSA gets the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Courts Act and allows those courts under FISA to authorize searches of anyone. Those searches are not based on probable cause. Those areas are not described. It is a general warrant concept that they used in England to search people in England that were political opponents. The spy courts in the United States started probably with a good reason, to go after these terrorists that are after us. But they are based on general warrants where they can seize phone records, they can seize credit card bills, utility bills. And we're learning now that they seize NSA, with the authorization of these FISA courts, seize bank records. It's also, the judges are far from being independent. They meet in secret, just like the Star Chamber did. They can't even keep the records of the proceeding. Those are turned back over to the government. There are no witnesses present, just like in the Star Chamber. There's no lawyers present for anybody, just like in the Star Chamber. You know, these FISA courts should be protecting American citizens, should be following the Constitution. They are supposed to act as the independent power between government and the people. But they're not doing that. I call them the spy, search, and seizure courts because they are operating in the darkness of tyranny. We don't know what they're doing. They allow the NSA to seize and violate the privacy of Americans in violation of the Constitution by seizing people's records under general warrant. A general warrant is the idea that we know there's a bad guy in the area, so we want to search the whole area of town for the bad guy. Can't do that. I used to be a judge. You got to name the house, the specific area, the probable cause it's got to be sworn to, and the specific location of what you want to search and what you want to seize, or it's a violation of the Constitution. The spy courts, the NSA courts, the Star Chamber courts need to be revisited. It's time to shine sunshine on the FISA courts and the spying of the NSA. The NSA and the FISA court, Star Chamber courts have shut down the Constitution. Now it's time to shut down the unlawful surveillance and intelligence gathering by these courts on American citizens. And that's just the way it is. I yield back.